Hi everybody, and welcome back to Atlas Debate Resources. In this video, we're continuing our series on the UIL LD manual that I put together. In this series, we're talking about specifically a main philosophy you're going to see in Lincoln Douglas debate, and specifically in UIL, and we're going to talk about the parts, what you do as the affirmative and negative, things like that. So start right off, this basic philosophy that you're going to see, and really I put it up because it's all about interconnectedness, is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It started off as a psychological concept, and to put it very simply, we've got this little pyramid, which, fun fact, Maslow actually didn't design. And it goes that once you achieve physiological needs, then you're okay to achieve your safety needs. So once you have your food, your water, your shelter, then you can have military presence, you can have arms, you can have weapons. Once you have your food, you can start worrying about not looking over your shoulder. After safety, of love and belonging. So once you feel safe, once you have your food, then you can start caring about others. You can start creating a community, a family. Once you've got your family and you've got people around you, then you can have esteem. Then you can care about yourself. You can like yourself, do things that you enjoy. And once you're starting to do things that you enjoy, then you can realize who you are and you can be the best person that you can be. So this is very simple, very basic, foundational philosophy. And the reason I bring it up is because it goes all over this idea of achievements and values. And even though you don't have to run Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and a lot of people will, the basic concept applies to all of LD. There's this greater idea, this greater goal is transcendence. Ours is the resolution. And we have all these different ways of achieving it. And as the affirmative or negative, you have to prove that your way, your path of achievement is the best way. So to kind of talk about this a little bit, because it's interesting, so you may know, it originally comes from a paper called A Theory of Human Motivation, published in 1943, and expanded on in Motivation and Personality in 1954. Like I said, each step must be achieved and maintained to reach the next level. So once you can't just get food one time and then you're on your way to transcendence. You have to keep the food. You have to keep security. Um, so the positive, it's very simple. It makes sense. Even Shakespeare has his own version of it. Downside is that it's very animal based. It doesn't look at how expansive humans are. For example, if you look at some of the most famous philosophers, various monks in history, the Buddha, all kinds of these different people, they denied themselves physical necessities, physical pleasure, and yet they still could have been the very best that they are. Another weakness is, what makes someone the very best they can be? Is it required to have food and love and people around you to be the very best you can be, or can you be the very best you can be on your own? Um, but I throw this out there, I put this out there, and I teach it because it's very simple. You're going to see it a lot. And like I said, ultimately, as an LD debater, you're going through this mindset of we have a bigger idea. How do I interconnect everything to get there? And so, how you do that in your round is by meeting your burdens. And the burden is what you are trying to do as the affirmative or negative. As the affirmative, your highest burden is proof. So, like in my video talking about the affirmative position, what you're going to be doing is you're going to prove the resolution, which is phrased as a statement, is true. So, let's say we have a resolution, going back to last video, the benefits of genetically modified organisms outweigh the risks. As the affirmative, you're going to say, yes, this is true definitively, and here's my proof why. Here's my value why. You must have some kind of evidence that proves the resolution correct. However, what kind of evidence or how much of it is up to you. It could be extremely quantitative, it could be extremely qualitative. It could be entirely specific statistics, or it could be philosophy. It's all up to you. The negative on the flip side of things is you are creating clash. You are proving that the resolution, as it's phrased, incorrect. But also, you have two other levels of clash. So the first is resolutional. Your ultimate goal is to prove the resolution is false. Whether it's one way, 1,000 ways, or just halfway false, you have to prove that. Next, you provide value criterion clash. You show that the affirmative value criterion are incorrect, false, or inferior, and for these or these reasons. And then finally, body clash. You disprove their evidence, your evidence is better. To put it all in a nutshell, keep it nice and simple, you have to prove the resolution is correct. This statement is correct, no matter what, here's why, and persuade the judge this way. In the negative, you have to prove that resolution is incorrect. It is false. Here's why. Remember, like I've said 1,000 times, your ultimate goal is not to beat your opponent, it's to persuade your judge. So AF, persuade the judge the resolution is ultimately true. Negative, persuade them that there is reason to doubt it. Next, we're going to talk about resolutions. I keep using this term over and over and over again. So to kind of explain what a resolution is going to be a specific topic. And if you look right here, I have some examples of them. So a simple example would be resolved. On balance, artificial intelligence improves humanity. And this is what you're going to be debating over. This is your topic. Now, there are two types of resolutions in Lincoln-Douglas debate that I've noticed. There is the one-party resolution and the two-party resolution. What this means is that each one has a different purpose. The one party is going to have one specific thing you're debating, either correct or false. So go back to this example. On balance, artificial intelligence improves humanity. So what you are debating over, your one single party, is artificial intelligence. You're either saying it does benefit or does not benefit. It's not two separate concepts. It's one concept. The affirmative is going to say, yes, it improves humanity. Here's why. And the negative is going to say, it does not improve humanity. Here's why. Now, I put a little note. This is an extremely advanced technique, so beginners, I would avoid it. But the negative can create a second party. What this means is that, going back to this artificial intelligence example, the negative could say artificial intelligence does not improve humanity, but here's what does. Or they could run something called a critique, which we'll talk about in a later video, which completely just throws out the resolution as a whole. I personally would not recommend creating the second party, creating a second subject. It just puts too much on your plate, and quite frankly, most judges don't like it. Next is the two-party resolution. It's a little bit more complicated, and as I've noticed, usually a little bit more common. However, in recent years, we've seen a lot more one-party resolutions. So, the two-party, as it shows here, our example, when in conflict, public health ought to be prioritized over individual liberty. If you notice, it's not debating the yes or no of one concept. It's saying one must be over the other. One must be better, or sometimes we have to have one. We can't have the other. In this example, it's public health and individual liberty. See, ultimately, those are two different things. One side is for one party, one side is for the other party. So the purpose for the affirmative is you're going to prove that the original party, which is going to be whatever usually the first one is higher than the other. In this case, the affirmative is proving that public health ought to be prioritized over individual liberty. So you're going to be all about public health. The negative on the other side of things is going to prove that this original party is not higher than the negating party, which gives the negative a lot of room, a lot of wiggle room. And as you notice in the note, this means that they don't even have to necessarily prove that the negating party is better, just that it could be equal. They could show that individual liberty and public health are at an exact priority level. You can't go over one or above. So very simple. These are the two basic ones. While they do cover the same concept, you just got to be careful with what you're doing. If you have a one-party resolution and all of a sudden you start talking about something that has nothing to do with your party at hand, then you're not really debating and you're not helping yourself. If you have a two-party resolution and you're too busy working on advocating for your side versus actually weighing or balancing the two sides, then you're destined to fail. And then for a little bit of a sneak peek after this, we're talking about two basic case styles, and we'll build on more in the final video that can be used for either resolution. The first is what I call the foundation case, your basic case. It can be used for any type of resolution. All it has is the bare necessities. It'll have a brief intro, the value criterion, contentions, almost no subpoints, a brief conclusion, and very rarely observations. Either the AF or the neg can use this. It's great for beginners. It's a very simple style of case. All you're doing is making a claim and proving that claim. So you'll say, I affirm because I value this. To uphold my value, I offer the criterion of this, and here's my evidence to show why all this is good. It's very simple because you can do anything with it, and I call it a foundational case because it gives you something to build off of. It's enough evidence that you can make attacks or claims, but it's also not so much evidence you're just debating the case the whole time. It's what you see the most. Very simple. And then last but not least for today's video is the advanced case. Again, this one can also be used for any resolution, and like the foundational case, It's basically the same concept, except it adds some things. There'll be some more evidence, usually some subpoints. There'll be an observation, sometimes an opening quote, and there'll be a lot more analysis. That's the biggest difference, is how much analysis you put in it. And that's the biggest difference between a beginner and a novice and a advanced or pro debater, as you'll notice, is how much they explain it and break it down. Um, Something I heard a judge once say is that any monkey can read off a case, but only an expert can explain to you why that case matters to you. So once you go from that beginner to advanced, you're going to stop just reading evidence and you're going to do that analysis. You're going to create that framework and you're going to create that win loss. So, yeah, that's today's video. We talked over the basic components of debate. We talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which starts at physiological needs, goes all the way up to transcendence. And ultimately, the idea of LD debate is rooted in this ideology that we have an ultimate goal, and here's the way to achieve it. We talked about the parts of debate, how you win. We have the burden for the affirmative of proving the resolution true, the burden of the negative that's proving it's false, and the affirmative position is false. Then we talked about the two types of resolutions, one party and two party. One party is one subject that is debated as good or bad, true, false, just, unjust, whatever the case may be. And the other type, a two-party resolution, is two different ideas in contrast with each other. One is being upheld by the affirmative, and one is potentially being upheld by the negative. Then we cover two different kinds of cases, the basic foundational case and an advanced case. In the next video, we'll be going over all the other case styles I've noticed. It's a little bit more beefy, and it's a lot more talking. However, it could be helpful. And again, if you'd like to have this manual for yourself, click the link in the description below, and you can buy it from my Teacher Pay Teacher. With that, I hope this helped to take a burden off of your shoulders, and thank you for your time today.